What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock show presented by Yahoo, our lovely sponsor, Yahoo. Behind me here, I'm Eric Lindquist, excited to be talking some NBA. I know NFL is going on. We all are paying attention to the NFL. Don't get me wrong. This could be a little bit of a live sweat. We've got Matt LaMarca in the house, per usual on Sundays. That's kind of what this always turns into a little bit, but we have 1 hour to give you a 5-game breakdown. We're going to go position by position like we always do. As you get in here, hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, so you know when this and all the other content here at Awesemo is going live. But Matt LaMarca, at Matt LaMarca on Twitter. Go follow him. Viral superstar Matt LaMarca on the Twitter sphere. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing great. I'm pretty sure that I'm now the most famous person at Awesemo. They're going to have to rename the website LaMarca O, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Things that will always go well. Trolling Darren Ravel, breathing, eating and drinking water, like things that go well in life.
Yeah.
So well done by you. Sometimes it's incredible that I am even allowed to do shows with the great and honorable Matt LaMarca. But you know what? I'm proud and honored to have that distinguished opportunity here. Let's get into it. Everybody's asking for Duke. Oh, you want Duke? You better smash that like button. That's what I better say. I'm not shelling out my new dog for 200 likes or something. I mean, we got to get like 500 plus on just this game. Now, we only have 235 people in here, so mathematically that's going to be difficult. And I know everybody's watching NFL, but let's get into the NBA here right now. Same question I ask everybody when we start NBA Live Before Lock shows. What piece of news are you waiting on the most that's going to shape your lineups the most?
What I'm waiting for right now is the Timberwolves. They've got D. Russ questionable, Beverly questionable, a couple other, smaller players are questionable. That could be important. Unfortunately, it is one of the later games on the slate that tips at 8. Mm-hmm. One of the 2 games that tip at 8 o'clock tonight. But the Timberwolves right now have the second or third highest implied team total. They're a team that could be a nice team to target today if they're shorthanded, especially. So I'll be checking out that injury report, and I'll have some flexibility to swap onto some Anthony Edwards potentially if D. Russ is out.
Did Jamar Chase just score a touchdown? Is that what everybody's celebrating?
Looks like a penalty was called.
Oh, Rip City, also known as Portland. But let's get into it here. I would say the Spurs starting lineup, but also they're all cheap. So I'm going to be able to react to that pretty simply. If you are just tuning in from NFL, and you are looking at the board right now, do not adjust your television screen or your computer screen. It is true. You're going to have a ton of value here on this slate. It is very, very crazy for a 5-gamer here. Very stars and scrubs already. But let's get into it position by position. I won't keep talking here without giving some analysis. Let's get to it. Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, Lonnie Walker. As I said, your 3 most popular dudes. They can all be played here at guard. Doug McDermott also shooting guard, small forward eligible. With the San Antonio Spurs, in case you have been missing it, we have no DeJounte Murray. We have no Derek White at the guard positions. We have no Jakob Poeltl. Keita Bates-Diop continues to be out, and Zach Collins has never played a game for the Spurs. That seems difficult. But what are you looking to do here with these pieces of value, and who are your favorites?
Yeah, I think Trey Jones, pretty easily my favorite option of the bunch. He is going to be the highest owned, but he's just he's been solid when given the opportunity this season, 0.84 fantasy points per minute. And as you alluded to, most of those absences are in the backcourt. I think Lonnie Walker deserves consideration as well. He's not much more expensive, should also see a nice bump here, but the interesting situation to me is going to be how the center minutes are split. You know, it seems like most people right now are leaning towards Eubanks being the guy, but the last time that Pirtle sat, Landale started and he played the majority of the minutes. So I think that's going to be something that's important to monitor here. Landale right now would be the guy that I would prefer. They're similar players on a per minute basis, so I'm going to take the ownership discount. But again, kind of as you alluded to, the starting lineup is going to be important here.
Yeah, you play the starter is probably my opinion.
Yeah,
I think you'd be looking at giving him like a 25, 20. And I think there's opportunities for them to play lineups without Eubanks or Landale if they want to go that route. I don't think it's super likely. I know I'm looking at our projections here right now. We have right around 23 minutes for Landale. We have right around 21 for Eubanks. I think that leaves about 4 minutes up in the air. That's just fine by me here. But like legitimately, there's some iterations of Thaddeus Young playing a couple minutes here and there. Juancho Hernan-Gomez has a pulse, I think. I think he's okay. He might be out there somewhere. So there's an opportunity maybe to throw him in some lineups here. But Keldon Johnson against Phoenix, if Jalen Smith's on the floor, there's an opportunity for him to be the guy that's out there. The no Ayton, no McGee. We have that same Biyombo Jalen Smith, whatever the hell you want to call that. That's fun. But Spurs, gigantically important here on this slate. I think you play a lot of the starters, but that's what everybody else is going to do. And I think independent of that, we just kind of want to look at some of the fantasy point per minute rates. Trey Jones, he's 3K. We also have that. So lots of 3K guys here that are interesting, specifically him and the two centers from the Spurs that I think can be added into lineups pretty easily, and that's why they're so popular. Let's get away from the Spurs here now for a second as we talk about some of the other more popular plays. And again, you're going to need some guys that you can spend up for here. Devin Booker and Chris Paul really make sense as overpays at 9,500, 9,800. First of all, like the Spurs are going to be value regardless of if they lose by a zillion. They're 13-point dogs. They could probably be more so, in my opinion. That seems like a decent enough spot. So they're guys that I'm happy to go pay up for. We have Luka Doncic and his ceiling getting a ton of attention, rightfully so. Who are your favorite spend ups at the position?
Yeah, I do think that when we're talking about Luka, a lot of the times whenever Porzingis is out, the like inclination is we just have to rush to go get Luka into our lineup. And he really doesn't see much of a bump with Porzingis off the court. The big difference this time around is that Tim Hardaway Jr. is also out. So taking both of those players off the court, it really doesn't leave anybody else besides Luka and a little bit of Jalen Brunson, right? It is going to be a heavy dosage of Luka tonight. He's averaged 1.59 DraftKings points per minute with KP and Hardaway off the court. I think he is the guy for me at guard. With so much value, I have no problem paying 11-2 for him tonight.
Yeah, his usage goes up nearly 4.5% to 39.8% usage on the season with no THJ and no Kristaps in the lineup. That's useful. I would say useful. That's useful. Mililati. Literally no way that I'm getting away from playing a bunch of Luka. I think that's kind of a predominant theme is with so much value on the slate, you can literally just group it by salary, look at Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Luka Doncic and get to a ton of them. I will say, I think that, playing on a two center site like DraftKings is going to be very, very different for me. Obviously you have some power forward eligibility for some of the guys on FanDuel that makes life a little bit easier with the likes of Eubanks, who I think I'll only probably play him at the power forward spot, but on DK, we'll talk and rank those three guys specifically in Jokic and Antetokounmpo and Doncic, because I think there's some interesting talking points for each of them. But they're all around 30% plus. And that's because that is the kind of slate that we have here. Looking at the rest of the top end here of guard, I mean, do you have a preference between Devin Booker and Chris Paul? Because it feels like every single slate, we're getting a massive ceiling game from one of them.
Yeah. And I've been very light on Devin Booker, who for some reason has just started shooting the ball like 30 times a game. Not sure why that's changed, but it's something to talk about. I still think this is a salary that I'm not really that comfortable paying for him. I'd rather go with Chris Paul at 9,500. Again, I think both guys are overpriced, but Paul at least can get there in a few different ways, right? He can get the double-double with assists. Booker, to pay off this price tag, you need him to score 30 plus points. And he's certainly capable of doing that. He's done it a bunch recently, but given the blowout concerns, and just given that I think his usage rate from recently is a bit unsustainable, he's a fade to me at 9,800.
All right. Rest of the position. I mean, we really need to be selective. If we're not going to play some of the Spurs value, you better have some of these dudes who have some massive, massive upside. I think Jalen Brunson is underappreciated at 21%. Yes. I think that's a guy that I'm in love with on this slate at 6,200. He really made sense over on the DraftKings slate. I think on FanDuel, 5,600, it's a joke. He's already very popular there at 36%, and you should just play an absolute metric ton of him, especially because Trey Jones is 4,100 over there. Not exactly the stone men. I think he's a little bit more volatile piece of chalk. I know we're projecting him for 30 plus minutes and he's all right, but around a 0.83 fantasy point per minute producer. Jalen Brunson over 1 with no Kristaps, no THJ out there, right at 0.96 on the season as is. How do you feel about Jalen Brunson on this slate?
Yeah, I think it's a very good price tag for him. He doesn't see a massive bump with Porzingis and Hardaway Jr. off the floor, but his role, his minutes, they all become much more solidified. And if you get, 30 plus minutes approaching even like a 36 minutes, maybe, he's going to pay off this price tag because that's the kind of player that he is. As we get a turnover here, I believe.
Oh, what happened?
From Patrick Mahomes. But yeah,
all I know is that I have to not be watching the football game right now because otherwise I'm not going to do my job here for NBA. I'm learning that very, very quickly because I got absorbed for like 2 seconds and all of a sudden I'm just gone. It's a joke. What happened?
I think it might have been a tip ball. It looked like a defensive lineman had the ball in his hands.
All right. Fascinating. Oh, Jeff Wilson inactive. Hey, if you guys want to watch some NFL content, we still have 48 minutes here of the NBA show, but starting up half an hour after lock, we've got the usual crew for the Sunday night showdown. We've got EMAC leading the way 2024, along with our two friends, Nick Lepre and of course, Terry McBride. Just absolutely fun content. Definitely check that out. Only half an hour show getting you up to lock there. That 6:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff of the NFC Championship game, but should be fun going on out here in LA. A lot of my friends out there hanging out, having a good time here today, but I am here working for you. Any other guards? Because again, I think it's pretty clear cut. This is the kind of slate where we want to take some shots in tournaments because all of these guys are going to come underneath like what their rostership would be if you didn't have the Spurs. If you just remove the Spurs from this slate, I think that's where some of these ceilings of like Anthony Edwards really come in handy to be over the field on. We're still waiting for D'Angelo Russell news. I'm looking at other pieces like Cade Cunningham, who, is coming off of legitimately the worst possible game of somebody coming off of 69 fantasy points I've ever seen. 69 to 15.5. That's drastic, but there's definitely a ceiling there, even against Cleveland, no matter how good their defense has been here. People are talking about Cleveland's starting lineup here. We'll get to that at the forward spot, but who are some other guards that you're finding yourself getting to because we need ceiling here?
Yeah, I mean, my man Cade, what a wide range of outcomes that guy has. I think I'm with you 100% on Anthony Edwards. He's gone for 61 plus in 2 of his last 3 games. The team could be shorthanded, and they're in a nice spot against a Jazz team that is kind of reeling here without Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. I think he is a very strong option if we get some Timberwolves injury value. Either way, he's somebody that I am really planning for at the moment, right? He had 10 assists in his last game, played a little bit more of like a traditional point guard type role with some of the absences that they had. So I love Edwards if they're thin tonight. I think Darius Garland is in play at 8,600. That's nearly $1,000 cheaper than he was in his last game. He was 9,400 versus the Bucks. He only ended up playing 26 minutes in what was essentially a blowout, but that doesn't change the fact that Darius Garland has been really good this season, and especially over the past month, 1.22 DraftKings points per minute. The Pistons don't play any defense. Touchdown, Jamar Chase. So I think Garland is another guy that I'm paying up for at the position.
Philip Rogers. That
Philip Rogers?
The GIF when I go.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was pretty good. Jordan Klein doesn't even know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he literally had no idea what I was talking about.
You look like that Skip Bayless tweet. Did you see when he was like...
What a dipshit that guy is. I'm never getting fired by him now. No, we know that. All right, the guard spot. Yeah, it's just fine. We've covered everything that we really need to cover.
Do you agree
there.
with me on Garland?
Yeah, Garland's fine. Again, ceiling. And you kind of scattershot some of these dudes that are, a little bit overpriced for their situation. Like for me, the boom bust tool is so critical in building lineups. But for me, I'm really looking at like boom potential. And if you don't have boom potential to go along with what it is, like whatever your salary is, it's almost like irrelevant, because we're going to be mixing and matching so many pieces of value from San Antonio that, like, yeah, I'm going to have Trey Jones. I'm going to have, either Eubanks or Landale. I'm going to have Lonnie Walker. I'm going to have Devin Vassell. I'm going to have all of these guys in a bunch of lineups. And now I need to kind of figure out who are the boom candidates that can really go a little bit underutilized. You can look straight out at the leverage, and we've got, D'Lo, if he ends up playing, the boom percentage still is around 10% at 7,700 for him in a spot where, he might even see limited minutes. Like, all of that's already factored into the projections. And it just makes a lot of sense to go overweight to some of these guys here on the top end of guard, especially because I think Trey Jones, would you agree with me, where he feels like the most volatile piece because there are so many ceilings at the guard position?
Yeah. I mean, Trey Jones is an elite value in our model,
yes,
or our projections today. Right. 9.49 points per salary. You do not see that every day. So I think he's kind of a must. And then, rotating some of the other pieces around him makes a lot of sense. Are you taking any flyers on some of the Spurs guys that maybe aren't going to be as chalky? Like, I think Doug McDermott is somebody that I like a little bit today. He's got guard and forward eligibility, and he has actually been one of the Spurs' best players with Murray and White off the floor. He sees a 7.7% usage bump. He averages 1.04 DraftKings points per minute. I think getting him at reduced ownership, you're making a face. I kind of like the McBuckets angle if you're looking to attack the Spurs a little bit differently. And again, McDermott's not going to be like super low owned. We haven't projected for about 20% ownership, but that's only fourth highest amongst the Spurs guards.
Andrew Martinez, Thad Young see the floor tonight. Yeah, with his eyes from the bench is probably the best way I can put that. Joshua Primo, 3,400. What do you think about him? Maybe. I mean, it's not fun. He's been out of the rotation here for a while, but like Joshua Primo was playing some meaningful minutes and starting at times. And it feels like one of those spots where he might just be like an absolute gamble if he's not starting. There's an outside chance of him starting, considering we've seen 4 starts from, the 7th until the 12th of January here. I think it's a very volatile piece. I don't want to be going crazy with it. Played 13 minutes there 2 games ago against Chicago in that blowout win, or not blowout win. I mean, it was just like a close one. He got back in the rotation there. Is he somebody that you've got your eye on at all?
I have a hard time getting to him just because the per minute production has been really lackluster. I mean, you mentioned those 4 starts, 18, 19.25, 22.5, and 15 DraftKings points. I think I would rather roll the dice on Bryn Forbes.
Okay.
Just because I think he's a little bit better on a per minute basis, and if he has a night when he knocks down a bunch of 3-pointers, we've seen it happen in the past, right? He actually did that against Houston a couple of weeks ago. I think he can get us more ceiling. So I'd rather go that route. But again, for me, I think it's McBuckets.
Yeah, and I hope nobody's confused. Bryn Forbes plays for Denver. Now, we are all aware of that. Bryn Forbes is 3,200, plays for Denver, played 25 minutes, 10-year high with the Nuggets of minutes at 25 there against the Pellies. Somebody that can go out and go 4 for 8 from three. Like that's something that's in play. But I think because of how good the value is for the Spurs, I'm probably inclined to go elsewhere, not take that shot. Maybe Drew Holiday,
Apologies.
7,600.
That was a brain fart on my.
Oh, it's
my
okay.
part.
No, you're just fine. I think that it was something just to touch on, because sometimes, that can be, we make our own little deals on the side where we have Excel, we have some other things. And sometimes when you drag certain players over, he might have been doubled over. But Bryn Forbes would be a really deep flyer just to knock down threes where like every piece of value failed for the Spurs. I'm probably not going to do it, but if you want to, best of luck to you. Maybe on the express slate where it's just like those early games, but definitely probably not for the full 5-gamer for me. Last guy, I just want to say, yeah, Drew Holiday should never be 7,600 in any situation. I think that there's always going to be a ceiling on that kind of a tag for 50 plus, playing big minutes for this team, 35 now. It was nice to see it start to trend back up here. He's only been back for a week now, which is kind of crazy to think about after being out for nearly 2 weeks. So it's good to see those minutes back up. The upsides there, 36 minutes of him in this game would be very nice against Denver. And I'm just excited to watch that one on the side of NFL. Anything else for you from the guard position? Because again, it is so concentrated where you should be going on this slate.
Yeah, if you want a mid-range, I kind of like the Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs combination, one of those two from the Magic. They're like sandwiched around Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen Brunson grabs most of the ownership out of that trio, but he might have the third lowest ceiling out of that trio as well. So I don't hate a pivot to one of those Magic guys if you're looking to get a little bit different that way.
All right. My boy, Matt LaMarca, is phenomenal with the analysis. You guys can chill. I mean, everybody makes mistakes and throws stuff out here from time to time. And guess what else? I'm going to have some shitty play recommendations in my life, and I'm going to mess up names. I'm going to apparently have a Midwest accent. What did I say that was so cluttered? What did I say? It was ridiculous. What did I say? Oh, it was Matt. I thought it was me. What did I say? Oh, I go to Iowa for one night and one night only. It's so nice up there with we got to get the snowshoes on. We got to go out hiking there in West Des Moines. Go see the tracks. Oh, it's fucking
What'd you
terrible.
call me?
I apologize. I didn't say anything.
I know.
I love you. If you're a resident of Louisiana or New York, definitely check out all the offers we have going for sports betting right now, because it would be really fun to be able to put some coin on this game in the evening, Hammer. We also have tons of props on OddsShopper for you to look at. We can see the best bets instantly over on OddsShopper, but these are a couple of the promos that they have going right now in Louisiana and New York. It's like 2 weeks. They're going to hit like a handle high record here in just like a 2-week span since they've gotten live mobile betting going there. But like we have $200 for any team scoring a touchdown in either conference championship for BetMGM. Free NBA jersey if you bet $100 with Caesars Sportsbook. You can take a $1,000 risk-free bet with BetMGM and a $1,500 first match deposit bonus with Caesars in Louisiana and New York. Those are all going to be easy to sign up with the referral links we have in Alex Baker's article. It's on the main page of Awesemo. At least I believe it was earlier today. Check it out. Use those promo codes. We have stuff in YouTube chat that I know our good friend Jordan Klein, virtual guy behind the virtual glass here, is going to be firing up here for you. Take advantage of these offers now, because free money is the best way to bet. And with all these promotions, simply watch what you're doing, pay attention to it, but take advantage of these offers, because they are going to go away eventually and you will be too late. So if you're in either one of those two states, definitely take advantage of it. And we will see you soon, hopefully here in California. All right, let's head to forward here. Again, we have a pretty concentrated slate. Once again, we can talk Spurs forever. Devin Vassell, Lonnie Walker. I think they're both very fine plays at 4,100 and 3,400. I think they're almost the same dude. They're both nearly 0.9 fantasy points per minute. I think I'm going to like them both if they both start. I think I'm going to like the guy who starts more than the one who doesn't. Not that that should shock anybody, but do you have a preference between a 4,100 Devin Vassell and a 3,400 Lonnie Walker?
I think I like Vassell a little bit more, even with the price difference. Lonnie Walker just has never gotten there for me. I feel like I've played Lonnie Walker plenty of times in this spot, and he just very, very rarely comes through.
Yes.
So we'll see. I mean,
correct.
maybe with all of these guys out, this is the Lonnie Walker breakthrough night. But I'm going to be underweight on him. I have a feeling. I mean, Walker has averaged with with Murray and White off the court. He's averaged 0.94 fantasy points per minute. That's pretty darn good. But I just feel like Vassell's minutes are a little bit more secure. I think he gives us a bit more safety. So I'll go with him. I'll have both, but I think Vassell gets a slight edge for me.
All right. Before we go on, I know we had some questions earlier about it. When starting lineups come out, I don't always react to them right away, but this is a little different. We have 1 hour to talk 5 games. And the early game, I always try to give a little bit more attention simply because it's only one. It's usually on an island in this 3 p.m. Western or Pacific time coast. Pacific time coast. What the hell am I saying? 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time game lock, Cleveland and Detroit. Now, we just got questions about Cedi Osman. We got questions about these other dudes. Dean Wade is in the starting lineup here. We have Garland, Okoro, Wade, Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. First of all, any Mobley attention here, but considering he's the most popular guy out of that grouping.
I don't have any Mobley at the moment. Again, he's a guy that I haven't really played all that much. I think he's a better real life player than he is fantasy player. He's averaging 0.96 fantasy points per minute this season. That's a good number, but it's not like an elite number considering his price tag. Like he's playing around 35 minutes a night. If he's only averaging a fantasy point per minute, that's not really what we're looking for at his salary. So I'm a little bit less interested in him than I think the field will be tonight.
Okay. I'm probably with you. I think on FanDuel, he's garnering a lot of attention, 7,500, 22% rostered. I think he's fine. For power forward doesn't have like as many of the like premium offerings. I think Giannis is going to be very chalky, but he should be. It's $11,000 and you have all the value in the universe. Like 50 out of Giannis could be good enough to be optimal here in this spot. That's just kind of the slate that we've been given. Jarrett Allen, you can also play power forward only, so that becomes a little bit more useful there. Now let's ask kind of the DK relevant questions. So Kevin Love coming off the bench, but Dean Wade, do you have any desire to be rostering this dude over any of those San Antonio pieces?
That's a no.
Definite no for me. So the guy who asked about Dean Wade earlier, that is absolute no from me. But do you have interest now in Kevin Love, who's the most popular guy on the DraftKings slate out of the entire Cleveland team?
I love Kevin Love, but I like playing him when he is going to be a little bit less popular. I mean, he's projected for 19% ownership tonight. I think it's fair to have some exposure to him at that number, but the guy has a wide range of outcomes. It's, some nights he's going to give us 40 and some nights he's going to give us 15. So I want to try and take my shots on him when I think it's going to give me a bit more leverage on the field. So yeah, I don't think he's a guy that I will have a ton of tonight.
Kevin Love, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. I like that one. Jordan Klein, can I get a positive reaction from you one time? Can I get a laugh? God, I do this all for you. Jordan Klein, give him some love. Hit that like button. All right. So we've kind of wasted enough time here with the Cleveland side. But again, we want to talk about this early window of games. Detroit, I'm really not playing any forwards, so that's useful. Just basically playing Cade Cunningham from that team and moving on with my day. Probably the easiest way to go about it. Rest of the forward spot. Let's go to the top end here on DraftKings. Some of the more popular guys. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I talked about him on FanDuel. He's 11K. He's 11.8 on DraftKings, and we're still seeing 30.5% rostership. Why? Because we have eternal amounts of value. Are you going to be over that number like me?
It's tough, right? I have him third on my list of superstars tonight, right? I have Jokic and Doncic kind of clearly ahead of him. And that's no knock to Giannis, right? He's a phenomenal player. He's averaged 1.81 DraftKings points per minute over the past month. I just feel like he isn't necessarily needed to do as much for the Bucks that those other guys are for their respective teams. The minute count is typically a bit lower, so he has a lower floor than those other two guys. If he goes off, certainly won't be surprised, right? Giannis is known for putting up big fantasy totals and not needing a ton of minutes to do it. But I just think at 11.8, he's a little bit riskier than a guy like Doncic or Jokic.
I would agree with that. I think also it depends on where you're playing at. FanDuel, 11K is just so cheap, and you
Yeah.
should play a ton of him. And there should be more than a 13.5% disparity, I think, between their ownership on FanDuel and DraftKings, but there's not. And again, I think that just speaks to how confident everybody is in all of this Spurs value. You should be. They have nobody there. Everybody's cheap, and we should be going their direction. But in the event that you're playing more FanDuel, where I think you have logical builds to build with a bunch of Doncic, tons of Giannis, and tons of Jokic, he definitely makes a plug and play on the FanDuel slate for me. DraftKings, you do have to be selective. And at the very end, we'll kind of go over the entire slate overview once more for everybody that might be tuning in later or watching NFL. And, you really have to make a decision on DraftKings, which one of those three you want to prioritize in Doncic, Jokic, and Giannis. But rest of the forward spots here, we've got some interesting pieces that you can really take some shots on. We touched on Cleveland. Sadiq Bey is a guy who's coming up. I besmirched him a little bit. I do have one share of him in my 20 max stuff over on DK. FanDuel, I'm sure I'll get to a little bit as I'm finishing my lineups over there. Anything you want to talk about? Any Sadiq Bey takes? Because those are always fun.
I have no Sadiq Bey takes today.
Cool.
But let's talk about the Dallas situation, right?
Yes.
Because with no Kristaps, no Tim Hardaway Jr.
Finney.
You're going to see a lot of playing time for Dorian Finney-Smith, who has already been playing kind of a bunch of minutes recently anyway, but also Maxi Kleber, Dwight Powell, and you can even throw Marquise Chris into the situation. Okay. He played 16 minutes and change in their last game. Granted, that was a blowout, but 24 DraftKings points at just 3K. He's still 3K. It wouldn't surprise me if he sees a little role here tonight. We have him as the most positively leveraged forward in the boom bust tool. So if you are looking for an interesting pivot off of some of the chalkier value plays, Marquise Chris could be your guy.
Ooh, we got some interesting news. Now, Josh Jackson's ruled out. I had him as questionable, and he's been playing like mid-teens minutes here for them the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to adjust some stuff from Detroit. I'm not sure how prevalent that's going to be here for me. But George Hill being ruled out, this dude is randomly, well, I mean, we had him already out in the projections, so that's useful. He was doubtful coming in. But does either one of those two kind of do anything for your lineups?
Not really. Okay. I mean, I guess you were already making a pretty strong case for Drew Holiday. Mm-hmm. That case becomes a little bit stronger. Maybe you can focus more on a Dante DiVincenzo if you wanted to. Like his playing time has trended up at least 24 minutes in 3 straight games. The per minute production hasn't been elite, but still 0.79 DraftKings points per minute this season. That's not bad for a $3,700 price tag. So really the guys for me on Milwaukee, we didn't mention Bobby Portis yet. I'm going to continue to target Bobby Portis at his current price tag, especially on FanDuel. He's 6,300. That's too cheap there, but 6,500 on DraftKings is fine too. Hasn't been great recently, but we know the dude's bona fides on a per minute basis. He's 1.12 fantasy points per minute this season. He should continue to play around 32 minutes a night. That makes him a strong option for me at his current salary. So I think Portis is really like the guy that I'm going to have the most of for Milwaukee.
All right. That's just fine by me. Portis is a fantastic upside option. I think Giannis is still going to be my guy. Drew Holiday, it's more of just looking at that tag 7,400. You have the absence of George Hill. You do have these other guys that are going to start getting minutes ramped up, and you have a ton of diluted backcourt minutes with Connaughton, Grayson Allen. But we're talking about Drew Holiday here, where he could go out and put up 50 here, plays mid-30s minutes, upper 30s minutes. No problem whatsoever here. Forward spot. Anything else then from this Dallas situation? I'm kind of finishing up everything for that. Marquise Chris, I think probably going to be where power forward only 3,500, the absolute floor on FanDuel. I mean, I did not consider that coming into this slate. Can you just talk to me one more time about Marquise Chris? 16 minutes. I mean, how many minutes do you have him plugged in for today?
About that. Okay. I would say maybe even a little less, but you're not playing him because you think he's going to get a huge upside of minutes, right? That's not the type of player that Marquise Chris is. You're playing him because he is a very strong fantasy per minute type of dude. He's averaged 1.14 fantasy points per minute this season. So if you think that he can get 16 minutes or so, that's what we have him projected for at Awesemo. That's pretty close to what I have him projected for. At the minimum, it's very reasonable to expect him to exceed 20 DraftKings points.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do it, I think, on this slate. I'm just kind of revisiting it because that's just not even something that I considered. And I think there's definitely a path for it if you have other failures and other chalk, but I'm going to prioritize the popular chalk because that seems more fun and profitable long-term, right? No? Okay,
sure.
Never mind. Yeah, I'm just being good. It's whatever. Rest of the forward spot. I'm looking at FanDuel. I'm going back and forth between DraftKings. I'm trying to not watch football, which is really hard to do right now. But I will show strength, God grant me the serenity, or I think that's how it goes in movies. But here we go. Chris Middleton, 8,200. I'm not really getting there. Anthony Edwards, I think I would absolutely love if you got no D-Lo, but it's hard to know. I think you can probably pay for that ceiling regardless at 8,500 over on DK. He's been very FanDuel specific here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And, that game doesn't start till 8 p.m. Eastern time. People may or may not. There's not a whole lot of news to react to. Jalen Noel started, got in foul trouble. I think I would want to get to some shares of him off of some of the San Antonio pieces, but D'Lo being out, I think it probably is a pretty moot point for me. You saw Malik Beasley really kind of come to fruition. He's 4K, small forward eligible. You can definitely take that shot if you want to try to go that route again here. But Anthony Edwards, he's 8,600 now on FanDuel as opposed to the upper sevens, low eights that we have been paying for him here of late. Is he somebody that you're looking at getting to on this slate at all?
Yeah, I love Anthony Edwards. I mean, we talked about him earlier, but 61 DraftKings points in 2 of his past 3 games. He played more point guard in their last outing with no Russell, racked up 10 assists. If he's going to add some more distributing responsibilities to his scoring workload, I think he has a lot of appeal, even at a higher price tag than usual.
All right. Spurs, Keldon Johnson. This is the last guy that I wanted to talk about at the forward position. I saved him for last. So everybody else on the Spurs is sub 5K. Every single player you're looking at getting in your lineups, I believe on DraftKings and FanDuel. Let me double check my work here. I don't want to lie to the people. God forbid that would happen. Yes. So Lonnie Walker's 5,100 over on FanDuel. So maybe Lonnie Walker going underrepresented there just because of that salary. But on DraftKings specifically, he's the only piece that's above 5K there in that entire lineup. I think that makes him less of a priority for me than everybody else. But part of me just knows that if this game is competitive, which is a big if, he could be playing 40, 42 minutes in this spot. What does he do in your lineups?
I have a good bit of him. I think he's kind of the forgotten man for the Spurs, in a lot of ways right now. And the boom bust tool does not love him. Just throwing that out there. 26.7% projected ownership, but only a 15.6% optimal lineup rate. He is the most negatively leveraged forward on the slate. But I think that the boom bust tool is shorting his upside a smidge. He's had 33.75 and 38 DraftKings points in his past 2 games. And those have been obviously with DeJounte and Derek White in the lineup. So I think if you give him a bit more upside on a per minute basis, like he could definitely exceed those marks. His usage rate has been below 20% in each of those games. If we push him up over 20%, I feel pretty good that he can, he has an upside at least to get into the 40s. So I will be on Keldon Johnson despite some hatred in the boom bust tool.
Yeah, I think the 33.5 minutes is a crazy different projection than what we've seen of late. And that speaks to the spread. 13-point dogs. If they end up getting just ran out of the building, he's going to be the first guy out of that entire team that's just going to sit. Like, he's not going to close. He's not going to do anything. You're going to get 28 minutes and those lineups will be dead. I think that's giving me the opportunity to boost some of these Phoenix starters and give them a little bit of a boost in lineups that Keldon Johnson appears in. So at least maybe I'm going to be a little bit underweight to Keldon Johnson, but I know that I'm going to get more Suns into those lineups where that game does get competitive and Keldon Johnson's playing upwards of 40 minutes, which we've seen recently from him, 36 and 40 minutes his last 2 out in competitive ball games. I think that there's a massive allotment of minutes that could be in store well north of that 33.5 number. And that would just change his projection drastically for me. So what do you think about that?
I really like that call. I kind of was doing the same thing yesterday. I was playing a lot of Domantas Sabonis and Kristaps Porzingis together with the hope that that game would stay competitive. And of course, Kristaps got hurt, so that didn't really work out for me. But Sabonis ended up having a huge night. He only played 29 minutes. If that game was more competitive, I feel like that would have been a nice like correlated play that I feel like that was a good decision that I made, even though it didn't necessarily work. So I like that idea. I like the correlate.
I guess maybe I think we talked about it. Maybe I just kind of slipped up because I had everybody listed on my little personal sheet who I wanted to talk about from Cleveland. Kevin Love. Did we really discuss that? Because for me, I do like, okay, that's what I thought. I just was double checking because chat just asked me, yep, we fired Kevin Love up a little bit. I like him at 19%. You like him at 19% on DK, correct?
Yeah, I was just saying I'll probably be underweight just because I want to target him when he's like a sub 10% ownership guy.
Correct. That's exactly what it was. I have right around the field, 22% right now on DK. I've got 40 lineups that I'm firing up over there. And I think that isn't going to change a whole heck of a lot. DeMarcus Cousins ruled out here for today. Do we fire up any Zeke Najee? God, no, we don't. Right. Like that would just
no, you just play Nikola Jokic.
Absurd. Oh, cool. So those minutes are more secure than the massive amount of minutes he's already secure to have. We just need him to not get in foul trouble one time. How about that? The last two times have been pretty tilting out there.
I just don't understand how this guy isn't like the hands down smash favorite for the MVP award. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Nuggets with Jokic on the floor are outscoring people by over 10 points per 100 possessions. And when he sits, they're getting outscored by like 15 points per 100 possessions. He is just dragging the carcass of this team. And they've won 4 straight games. I get what Joel Embiid has done recently. It's been super impressive, but this guy has been the best player all season. And it frankly hasn't been that close.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you. He's fantastic. I mean, putting up 67.25 against New Orleans in 30 minutes, that's pretty good. But 54 against Brooklyn, he's just kind of had some of these like 5 foul games here of late, the last 2 specifically out there where I thought he was going to go for 90. I thought I was going to collect all the money. I did not collect all the money. Spoiler alert. You know where you can collect all the money though, Matt LaMarca?
Where?
Our sponsor, Yahoo. I didn't mean to cut you off. That was terrible by me. I'm going to work on my bets here, but because they're terrible. But Yahoo Fantasy is where you need to be playing at. Head over there for NFL tonight, too. I know they have some showdown stuff, $20K to first for that prize up top. And if you're a new user, if you haven't had the chance to play over at Yahoo, I don't know what you're waiting for because they have the best contest in the industry for NFL, NBA, NHL, soccer even. Yes, soccer, golf offerings, so many great things that they have over at Yahoo right now. And you'll get that free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum if you deposit $10 or more and play in any paid contest, the quarter, the dollar, the $20 NFC baller that I referred to. Still 2,000 entries away. There are 47 minutes to go before that thing fills up. Check it out. It doesn't get a lot better than this in terms of a payout structure, only a 12% management fee. Definitely play at Yahoo. So stop guessing, start winning. Join us at Awesemo, but do it through this Yahoo promotion, the sponsor of the NBA Live Before Lock show and all these other great programs that we have going on here today on the Awesemo Network. Thank you so much to them. Appreciate all of the work that they do and putting players first with such great contests. All right, my friend, we got 17 minutes. I want to make sure that we can get some questions answered and kind of finally react to Cleveland, Detroit, any specific things that we need before we have a half hour to make our NFL lineups and then half an hour until those other games start. But the center spot, Nikola Jokic, let's ask this question. Prioritize Jokic, Giannis, and Luka Doncic for me.
For me, it's going to be, I think Doncic won today.
Interesting.
I kind of like getting him in at guard versus using a center spot for Jokic or a forward spot for Giannis. I don't know. I'm leaning towards Doncic he's my highest owned of the trio at the moment. Jokic is 2, Giannis is 3. All 3 great players, all 3 really strong options today. But I think the lower price tag, the guard eligibility, and the Absences of Hardaway and Porzingis push me towards Doncic as my top guy today.
All right. Let's play the hypothetical game. Let's say Drew Eubanks starts.
Okay.
How much Drew Eubanks do you want at 33.5%?
Less than the field. I think even regardless of who starts and who comes off the bench, the most likely outcome is one of those guys plays around 24 minutes. The other guy plays around 20 minutes. I don't think that there's going to be a huge difference between the two players. I want to play whichever one is going to be lower owned. So I see you had mentioned earlier that you think you'll just play whoever starts. I might just play whichever one of the two comes off the bench because I'd rather take the ownership discount on two players that I think are pretty similar.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Here's my issue and what my worry is that I think Eubanks probably ends up higher owned regardless if that news doesn't come out until right before game time. Now, if it comes out now or the next 45 minutes, even like we're talking, you have an hour and a half to react to it or an hour to react to it. I think you're probably right where I probably want the guy coming off the bench. But if that news comes out at like, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on the East Coast there, like I think you're still going to find Eubanks getting a ton of rostership and not be switching as much. And maybe I'm just making an assumption people are paying attention to NFL. Sundays, it seems like the ownership just doesn't necessarily react the way that it should. And so I think I might be firing up Landale more in either scenario.
Okay. I don't hate that call either. If that's, if maybe I'm giving the field a little bit too much credit. So yeah, I get that. I think that, given the ownership disparity at this moment, to me, Landale is the far stronger play.
All right. Yeah. Zach Collins, he's still ruled out, I believe. I don't think that he's returned yet. I feel like I would hear that. He's definitely not in our projections, but it's been a hot second since we've seen the former Trailblazer there. Has not played for a while here. Let's talk the other centers here. We talked Jokic, the most popular guy. Yay. I like him. Again, I'm going to prioritize probably Giannis 1 at power forward because I'm able to play him there. Then Luka, then Jokic. But I think it's pretty easy to get over on all three. But then the next tier of guys, in terms of rostership, that is, not in terms of salary, Karl-Anthony Towns, Hassan Whiteside. This is definitely setting up as like a 2-center slate for me over on DraftKings quite a bit. I think they both have massive upside. And if I'm not playing Jokic in lineups, I'm probably playing one of them plus a Spurs center. Who do you prioritize between Cat and Hassan Whiteside?
I don't know if I feel like every time I come on here and I say you can't play Cat, he's too expensive. And maybe that's not the case with if Russell is ruled out, but like he just has been so underwhelming all season. I mean, he has been at below 50 points in 5 of his last 7 games. So I'm not nearly as interested in Cat as it sounds like you are. If Russell is ruled out, then I think you can talk yourself into him. I could talk myself into him, but if they're a little closer to full strength, I don't know if I would have much interest in him at 9,300.
Well, here's a disgusting thing. We just got this from the news god. Thank you so much to my guy looking out for us here on the Live Before Lock show. 13 minutes to go. Get some lineups in, people. But it sounds like Dwight Powell will be rejoining the starting lineup here for the Mavericks, which he's 3,300. And normally I would just laugh and I would be like, oh, well, Dwight Powell doesn't matter and whatever else. But there's legitimately got to be some room for some upside there. If he plays like low 30-ish minutes, he is like an ultimate ownership pivot at 3,300 against both of those super cheap centers. And I know it sounds disturbing. He's only a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy, but I mean, there's a massive minutes upside that could be there if he gets out and gets it going the way he has the last 2 outings, put up, 27 and 22 fantasy points respectively in just 18 and 20 minutes. But any Dwight Powell interest if he's in that starting lineup?
Yeah, he's somebody that I had previously. I don't think that that's like all that shocking to me. I'm assuming it was Finney Smith starting at small forward and then Kleba at power forward alongside Powell. Mm-hmm. They're going to kind of go with that big man lineup. That's, I think, the most logical scenario. I like Powell at 33, but the problem is that I am much more interested in Kleba at 37.
Okay, so give me the Kleba. More. And again, Kleba with no Porzingis is just like a noted thing. And you talk about minutes upside. There could be a massive, and I mean massive, minutes upside there for Kleba. Obviously, it was very frustrating to see that he's only center eligible at 3,700, but talk to me about him.
Yeah, I mean, he played only 23.5 minutes the game that Porzingis got hurt. He finished with 39 DraftKings points. That's a clear outlier, but I also expect him to play much more in this game. I think getting into the 30s minute-wise is very reasonable for him. He's averaged 0.8 fantasy points per minute this season, so similar to Dwight Powell, but I feel much safer with Kleba's minutes than I do with Powell's minutes, and he's only $400 more. I think he's a strong center.
I just got Terry trolling people in the chat. That was beautiful, Terry McBride. Check him out on the next show. That's for sure. 10 minutes to go here. Rest of the center spot. I mean, you talked about Cat. We didn't talk about Hassan Whiteside there on the other side. Yep. How do you feel about him on this slate, considering I think he's point per dollar, probably the best value. And that includes the Spurs value. I am massively overweight on FanDuel.
Yeah. The problem with Whiteside is I think we might have to start readjusting our expectations of what kind of per minute producer he is starting lineup versus coming off the bench. We've seen him now in this Gobert, filling in for Gobert pretty often of late, and he just hasn't shown the ceiling. He had a 51-point outing, but other than that, 20.75, 17.5, 28, 36, 23. So I have Whiteside. Don't get me wrong. I still, you look at the per minute production for him this season and you look at how many minutes he's projected for, and it seems like a no brainer. I just think that his per minute ability is definitely decreased when he is playing with this starting unit. So I'm expecting him to be at, somewhere between 30 and 35 fantasy points tonight. That makes him very reasonable at 6,400, but I don't think it makes him a smash.
All right. I'm just fine with that take. I'm taking the opposite approach where I think more than likely we're going to run into a Hassan Whiteside spot where he keeps his hands to himself. 5 and 4 fouls doesn't look like a big deal, but in terms of the way the game's played out, they ended up actually having an impact on him. They've gone on a massive, massive losing streak. They've not looked good whatsoever, but Minnesota going up against Cat, not a notoriously tough defender on the other side. That is for sure. Looking like a good spot where I think Hassan Whiteside going to be on the floor, going to have to be on the floor quite a bit with Cat. And that bodes well for Hassan Whiteside, I think, even offensively. So I'm probably taking a little bit more of that approach. Bobby Portis, your boy, play him at power forward over on FanDuel every single day. Apparently, he's just locked in at 6,300 from now until eternity, and I just have to play him every slate, right?
Yes, for sure. And again, I have him in my player pool on DraftKings, even as center only. And I think center is always a strong position. So I have to really like a guy at 6,500 to play him. But again, I think given the ownership difference between a guy like Whiteside and Portis, I think Portis is the stronger play. Whiteside, not to just keep repeating myself, but
you can.
I don't think he's a 1.2 fantasy point per minute player when he's playing with the starting unit, when he's playing 30 plus minutes. He just hasn't shown it to us. So I'm just going to kind of take the ownership discount with Portis. I think both guys have similar ceilings.
Dude, it is crazy how differently it's playing site to site for me here. I'm getting to a lot more Spurs on DraftKings than I am on FanDuel. Trey Jones, I think you can still play 4,100. He's a great play over there. Drew Eubanks, specifically a power forward I can get to. Devin Vassal's fine, but Keldon Johnson and Jock Landale and Doug McDermott, and those guys are just like forgotten for me on FanDuel. That's why you want to be playing multiple sites, everybody, with 7 minutes to go, especially our sponsor, Yahoo. Shout out to them once more here. Anything else for you from the center position before we start opening it up to not just questions, but specifically want to go over some stuff from this early game?
Yeah, I'm going to throw it, and this fits the early game. The only Piston that I really have any exposure to right now is Trey Lyles.
Wow.
He's 4,800 on DraftKings, power forward, center eligible. He has been outstanding on a per minute basis basically all year. He's averaged 1.07 DraftKings points per minute over the past month, scored at least 25 in 4 straight games. With no Josh Jackson, I think there's a scenario where he plays a few extra minutes today, and I will take a flyer on him and hope for that situation. That's kind of where I'm at.
You are a braver man than I. I know that. I don't think that was ever in question, probably.
Some would say me leaving my house looking the way I do is brave.
Oh, stop it. Yeah, I think you look beautiful. And not only that, but if you carried around that volleyball beach trophy, you would just be laying, it'd be Return of the Mac over there. It wouldn't even be fair. Oh my God. I knew we'd get off the rails at some point. At least we're doing it with 6 minutes left to go here. Let me see your questions, y'all. Let me see your questions. I don't think we had any super chats that I missed. I'm just kind of updating my lineups. You should be updating yours here. Will Barton will play. That's a good piece of news to get. He was sick. He had a rumbly in his tumbly. I think he's going to be all right. Has he been sick for like 2 weeks with a non-COVID illness? Because I feel like illness has been on the injury report since 1994 for this dude.
Maybe he's a little bit like Jimmy Butler. Greg was giving Jimmy Butler the business yesterday, calling him a fake tough guy. Always hurt. And then Butler went out and put up an 84 burger yesterday for Greg. So
don't start no shit. There won't be no shit. That's the best way I can describe it. If you want a piece of the Jokic brothers, you are not very bright. I'm going to just say that. There's not a lot of people that I think I would just stay out of their business. I will stay out of the Jokic's brothers business, like from now until forever.
Yeah, they were like born to play villains in
Bond movies.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no doubt about it. Once again, let's see. Oh, where's the pooch? I don't know. Oh, you guys want to see the pooch, do you? No, we got to save that one up for more likes. I'm sorry.
Is it a Bernese? It
is a Burmese Mountain Dog. Good old Bernese. Yeah.
My sister has one. So
dude, this dog is legitimately the best thing ever.
They're big fluff balls, but my sister's dog is literally afraid of his own shadow.
Oh, well, he's not yet, but I mean, we've known him for like 3 days now. So it's like, we're still in the get to know you phase. We have assumptions about the little guy. Like he likes to just plop down and sleep randomly. Like he'll be playing. You know what? I'll take a nap now. And that's really kind of an enjoyable experience for those who have dogs. And for me, it's been a while. It's been 11 years. You know, it was a family dog, obviously, but this is our first ever standalone dog as a married couple. Successful thus far, I will say that much. He is as good as it gets. Thoughts on Primo versus Jones? $2 super chat. One's super popular, one's not very popular.
I was gonna go for the troll. I was gonna go for the troll and say play Bryn Forbes instead, but I will abstain and say Trey Jones is the better play.
All right, good call. Let's see. Will Ayton and Crowder be playing? No,
they're questionable.
Yeah, they're questionable, but I don't think they're going to play. But best of luck. If they need to have them on hand to play San Antonio's B team, I would be shocked. But again, that's just one man's opinion. Luka or Giannis, we talked about that one quite a bit. But again, these are very important talking points. Those three are, it's kind of slate making, I would say, on DraftKings, because you can really only afford 2 of them. Yes. I prioritize them a little bit differently. Give the people your priority again, with Luka being 1, I know.
Yeah, for me, it was Luka 1, Jokic 2, and Giannis 3. And that kind of goes along right now as far as projected ownership. We have 36% for Luka, 30.5 for Giannis, and then 29 for Jokic. So all 3 guys pretty similar, but Doncic is expected to be the most popular for what that's worth.
All right. You're the man, DM Brian 007. You're the man. Pull Eric's man's card. Dude, this dog, there's no shame. I'm full-fledged all aboard. This dog is it train. Like, stop it. I don't care. You can call me a pansy. I mean, really could care less.
There's literally a reason that dogs are called man's best friend.
They are man's best friend. This thing, I would take a bullet for it. I'm pretty sure. No, that might be extreme. Probably though. Probably would.
Right, that might be too far, but okay.
All right, 2 minutes to go here. What do you want the people to know about this slate before we get out of here?
Obviously it's a stars and scrubs slate.
Yes. I would
be a little bit hesitant about just going bananas with the Spurs chalk. I think going with, Trey Jones I think is an awesome value at 3K. If you wanted to pair him up with like one of the centers or with Lonnie Walker, that's fine. And I would also have Keldon Johnson as a potential guy at 5,400. But I think if you're playing more than like 3 or 4 Spurs, you're kind of setting yourself up to be disappointed. It's going to be hard for all of these pieces of value to get there.
Be sensitive to ownership and price on those guys is what I would definitely say. They're the most important talking point of the slate. That's why we've been focused on them primarily throughout the entire show, but rightfully so. They're going to provide you the most value. They're all sub 5K other than Keldon Johnson. I told you my Keldon Johnson approach. I think it's the right one. I think that long-term, that's going to be more beneficial to make that small tweak in your lineups, not just randomly let it run and have it fall where it may. Lonnie Walker, Devin Vassell, those are the kind of guys I'm going to just kind of let it run and fall where it may, because either one of them could have the upside to win you the night. Max Spurs 5. I'm not going to play any more than 5.
I would even go less than that. I think
four is, I'm saying I'm not going to play 5 is what I meant. Sorry.
Okay.
4 is the max. Agreed. Okay. 4 is the max. It is also the max of our time. We have gotten out of here. NBA Live Before Lock is done. Don't go anywhere. We have NFL Showdown Live Before Lock here. Once again,
gonna be a showdown. She came to me like a friend. That's all I got.
Thank you so much to our sponsor, Yahoo. We're out.